Can we buy insurance on WhatsApp? Literally by chatting in Bhojpuri. Then we get to 1 billion people.
The approach of Guidewire and the success of Guidewire across the year has always been insure your way.
And Indian insurance industry, which was less than 10,000 crores, today it is more than 3 lakh crores.
Small is the real big in India.
Micro is the new mega.
Being here in India is seeing how Aadhaar, Digilocks, UPI have really transformed access.
Insurance for all by 2047. It's a huge ask.
I mean, insurance is all about trust.
Today, if you go to any hospital, there are dedicated health insurance desks.
If I end up in an accident, I'm going to be paid quickly. If you're paid quickly, you trust even more.
Every month on the 15th, there is an open house. Any insurance technology company they desire, they can go and showcase their talent.
What should India be doing so that we have that right set of talent?
To start to have local knowledge to solve local problem.
When an engineer understands the why, they innovate faster and better.
The job of software engineers is like a Lego builder.
So reaching out to Bharat will be the big growth opportunity. AI is suddenly the buzzword. How can that personalization be fair so that everyone's interested in that game? Hello and welcome. We are here to talk about the insurance industry, an industry that is unfolding in a format that probably has not been tried at a scale that we're wanting to do. With over 1 billion people, a market for over 1 billion people, there's ample opportunity for that industry to unfold with the digital edge, as a lot of companies in the country would like. With the insurance market, there already is the general insurers, the health insurers, the life insurance companies. There's a lot more waiting to come into the country, and of course, add to the heft that the people would like more options for them. And if there can be more options created for the people, there is an opportunity for companies to try that. There is an opportunity for companies to build for tomorrow. Let's talk about it to the experts here. First, Mr. Patnaik, I'd like to come to you. Traditionally, India's only insurer in the past, till about the last century literally, was the brick and mortar business. In the last 25 years, it's changed. With the new thrust from the regulator, how will the industry change? What will it be like over the next decade or so?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ashutosh, for putting this question. I'm very happy with the ecosystem in insurance today. Yes, we agree. Prior to 2000, there were few companies. And after 2000, as on date, it's narrowed 60 companies. And yes, up to 2000, it was purely a brick and mortar system. Because the insurance technology per se, it was in a fledgling state also. Technology really took off after 2000, and it has helped the insurance industry. And Indian insurance industry, if you go by absolute numbers, so the general insurance industry, which was less than 10,000 crores, today it is more than 3 lakh crores, almost 30 times growth.
Mm-hmm.
So life insurance, if you see, it goes by the total premium around 35,000 crores, which was there. It is today around 9 lakh crores. So together they make it around 12 lakh crores. So if you see overall around from 50,000 crores, it has grown to 12 lakh crores. That means Indians have accepted insurance as a model for their security. Individuals, companies, business establishments, everybody. And the companies in turn have really evolved, both from the human side and also the tech side, and also a lot of innovations. And they're well supported by many of the innovations that have happened worldwide also. So they were easy adapters. And most of the companies, they had their foreign partners also. There was a lot of transfer of these innovative technologies, innovative products, and which has made the insurance landscape in India richer for that. And I see a lot of hope for the next 25 years also. It is going to, that is, flourish and flourish.
Okay, that's a wonderful optimistic note from Mr. Patnaik. Dr. Varma, the insurance regulator said insurance for all by 2047. That's a broad intent. Now, with that intent, technology has to be the real enabler. How, are, how is that going to help reach out to Bharat, as we call it? I'll just mention Bharat is normally not the urban India, hence the term Bharat. That's the term we use for the non urban India. So, reaching out to Bharat will be the big growth opportunity. You know the landscape better than a lot of people.
Yeah, I wouldn't claim I come from the depth of insurance industries, the regulatory side of it. But even now, it's very, very, very fragmented. It is very low penetration. So everything is upside. So I agree with him with an optimistic note. We only have upside. There's no downside. We are already down. So everything is in front of us for as the economy grow in the next 2 decades. And India has laid the foundations. Few foundations. One, regulatory strength and the industry strength have been laid over the last couple of decades, 2, 3, 4 decades. India's stack as the underlying infrastructure from identity to digital payments to electronic signature, which does not require wet signature and paperwork, and account aggregator for payments, for data, and variety of that thing that we have done today in India in this just the decade that we came formalized 1 billion people into the economy. And so whether it's an insurance company, processing company, their ability to process insurance at a fraction of a cost to a large population is absolutely the next growth stage. And we have the patterns coming out from payments first, the UPI, magic that India has seen. We just crossed Visa's volume, worldwide volume. So it's in 8 years. So really, really large payment. How India has absorbed 1 rupee fractional payments everywhere. It's amazing. Next was capital market. We saw that pattern. Capital market exploded 7x in the last 8 years, and India's systematic investment has grown beyond FII, which is even better. Insurance is still, I think, we are at that cusp for absolutely getting that breakthrough for everyone to have access to the safety net, and that necessitates two things, I would say. One, India is so diverse and so large that product companies like this will have to actually deal with what's called a highly programmable insurance. You can't come with a cookie cutter and saying, "Oh, it's a uniform society. Let's just carpet bomb." Not going to work. So you have to create products that are highly dynamic, programmable products. So you need to get ready for that programmable world of insurance. And the second is sachetized world of insurance. We cannot come with, if I'm buying $1 million home, sure, I'll get insurance. But can I get insurance for a tiny logistics transport I want to do? Or when I do ONDC transaction, can I get a transactional insurance, which is sachetized? It's like IRCT is 1 rupee or 2 rupee. It's amazing. Literally so affordable, you can't even say no to it. That's how it should be. So the programmability for diversity and sachetization for access to 1 billion. I think these two have to be the primitives that we build subsequently on top of what we have done.
Fantastic point that you made. Chet, you work with insurance around the world. How does technology, or what technology option should they work on so that, and to add to what Dr. Varma said, that can make it secure and very scalable opportunity for insurance companies here?
No, I agree with the points shared earlier. I think what excites me about being here in India is seeing how Aadhaar, DigiLocks, UPI have really transformed access. I think the same opportunity exists for insurance, right? So as we build those foundational platforms, we need to make sure they're a cloud, they're open, they're secure, and they can easily connect to the foundation of identity and access, what Dr. Varma talked about. So I think that is the opportunity to scale, and that already exists. And sort of marrying those two together will really help India leapfrog on the insurance side.
Diego, from the kind of products, customer centric, and if you'd like to add from Guidewire's perspective, how is that driven, the thought for a market that is like we were just speaking a little bit before we started, that there's only an upside.
Sure. But the I would say, beside the sort of what Doctor was expressing before from a number perspective is kind of staggering. Um, if you pick the largest insurer carrier in US and you try to sort of compare that to the situation here, is kind of a little bit comparing, two different worlds. So I would say Guidewire from a concept perspective, from the birth of the company, was very aligned with what he was describing before, meaning we build a platform. We didn't build a product as you could imagine a defined product that it can only be fitting one carrier. The approach of Guidewire and the success of Guidewire across the years has always been insure your way. So we built a platform and a technology that, of course, it was a leading technology like 15 years ago, but again, everything changed. Everything 3-4 years down the road, everything changed, you need to reinvent it. So what Guidewire did and the approach that did was to enable a platform approach for the ecosystem of a developer using Guidewire platform to build it your way. If you pick the 5 or 6 biggest carrier in US, they all use Guidewire, and they all use it in a sort of slightly different way, although they share some kind of core paradigm across the solution. Now, as you said, India has this huge opportunity in front of us. In the last 5 years, Guidewire has been able to convert or enable the platform to work cloud and to become more cloud native. We think we're starting to get ready for this challenge that India will pose. And we've also been in interesting position by having a lab, as we've been developing here, to start to have local knowledge to solve local problem that is very different than trying to solve local problem with engineers that are in different part of the world.
Dr. Varma, so because you mentioned about the success of UPI, the success of identity, how Aadhaar, and you drove that part, how can insurers learn that lesson for DPI and also ensure that some of that success can be replicated for that? Ultimately, again, I go back to that almost an announcement or almost the intent from the regulator, insurance for all by 2047. It's a huge ask.
Good one. Very good one. We can ask, when you're dreaming, you can ask.
Yeah. So essentially, how do insurers drive that so that that target, what the regulator has set in mind or what the regulator has announced, that can be achieved?
Yeah, I think we again, if you look at the learnings from payment or capital market world, where each of them is growing leaps and bounds, you will see 3 parts. So 3-legged stool, 3 parts working out well in tandem. One, the regulatory and policy thinking. For example, RBI pushing for merchant going, QR code based merchant acceptance, but they said interoperability is mandate. I'm not going to have someone monopolize this. So they created that UPI, but allowing private innovation to thrive on top of the rail. The rail was open, innovation was still private. But they said regulation alone won't cut it. I can have a nice looking Word document and a dream, but just can't do it because it's economically not viable. It's too complex to bring it into a billion people's life. So it becomes, it doesn't take off. So the second leg of that stool is not regulation, it's a digital infrastructure that is necessary. We have to ask the question in the insurance world, what infrastructure, in addition to what we have already laid, identity, DigiLocker, credentials, all done. On top of that, can we create open loop insurance claims protocol? which we have an open source effort. By the way, we work closely with IRDA. I've done a session for them last year. Why? Because claims processing is high cost. And if it's high cost, we'll go back to the same world of high ticket value, low volume game. We need to flip in India. We need low ticket, high volume. So architecture is very different, right?
Yeah.
1 rupee transaction, but a billion people doing it. And that's tough for product companies to be able to reimagine, in that Diago's point, saying that we are dealing with this high, few volume, but high ticket. India is the other way around. Extreme volumes, but low ticket value. So you have to readjust economic viability for the business people. For the product company like Guidewire, they need viable opening. That's where you build infrastructure. For example, claims infrastructure. Can we implement claims protocols? Make it easier for them to be able to come into India. So I think there is a set of good discussion in IRDA. I'm very aware of it. They are definitely thinking about it. Access to insurance through marketplace, open marketplaces like ONDC, another one. Claims processing to be cost to be reduced. That is an infrastructure piece. But these two are not enough. The third leg is the market innovation. Unless hundreds of applications, can we buy insurance on WhatsApp? Literally by chatting in Bhojpuri. Then we get to 1 billion people. Today we can. The beauty is that they are getting, definitely products like them are getting ready for the agentic world, conversational world of buying and processing. Can I submit a processing claim literally on a chat board and not through some portal, complex forms? Today they're all complex forms. How many people in India can fill a form? Think of this way, 100 million, 200 million, after that it drops off. So it's very key for in-market innovation to also come in. So if you have a regulation, infrastructure and market, we see absolute magic. And that's the only way we are going to actually reach it. We can actually do it.
It's a fantastic point you've made. And if you just look at the people talking here, it's broadly that flavor.
Yeah.
Here's the innovation happening.
Yeah.
Here's the company here. Here's the
The
regulator.
Yeah.
So that's the flavor we are talking about.
Yeah.
So to the point that Dr. Varma made, Chet, AI is suddenly the buzzword. How can that, or some of the other technology options?
Yeah.
How can that personalization be fair so that everyone's interested in that game, and it doesn't work to somebody's disadvantage? Basic point: win-win for everyone.
Yeah. No, I mean, insurance is all about trust, right? And AI can help unlock that personalization, but it must be able to explain and be transparent. And especially in India with so much diversity, different sort of people, different groups, it has to be very important for it to be very fair and compliant, which are non-negotiable. And so I think when technology is transparent, customers feel it is fair, transparent, and regulators see that as compliant. And then insurance gain confidence. So I think technology can only deliver if the culture behind it allows the teams to move. So I think that's the key here. That's how AI can actually help.
Diego, for the product development to happen, and the approach that companies like yours take, how can that be keeping pace with the way a market like India, which is still evolving, customer choices will be evolving, maybe to what Dr. Varma said, very small ticket size. How can companies drive that?
But there are 2 or 3 things happening at the same time right now. It's an interesting moment, at an inflection point. First of all, if you really look at insurance all the way and their success at some point, it was very much about structuring data. If you think about what is a car policy, what is a property policy, it was a way to structure the data so that you can create a policy for a product that it was known at the beginning. Then if you look at what's happening secondary, we start to work on commercial. And insurance commercial is more complex because the product is more custom made. It's part of the negotiation. I want to insure this, but it's a little bit different. In my case, the roof is done in this way and so on. And so what Gen AI is going to introduce is going to introduce 2 very transformative things. One is that you can deal with unstructured data in a very different way. So you can be more bespoke. Potentially, you can be way more bespoke in the creation of the product per se. The second thing is that you can process that level of bespokenness with some help, because we were discussing about generating processing claims. Processing claims in a world into which, in the previous world, was I need to structure everything into a format into which I can then go and figure out a way to process those claims in a directional way. But now we have these double things, right? In one hand, different culture, different things. I want to create a product that is slightly different in different place. How do I do that? Oh, I create something with Gen AI that is going to enable me to decline that product in different way. As I said, generating a bespoke product. At the same time, I'm going to have Gen AI have the capability to process claims and to process things in a way that the two things can open up, as I said, a very different world. We came up, I think that the transformation of Gen AI is going to be very much about structured data versus unstructured data. We grew up in a world of database and relational database, and everything that we tried to do was always structuring. I'm going to be very curious to see what is going to happen in the future, right? So, of course, Guidewire has a legacy and a knowledge on insurance specific, and also a position that put us in a sort of front run. But this combined with this new technology coming is very exciting. It's very interesting to see what we can do and how you can solve existing product problem in a different way. Ultimately, the job of software engineers is like, I always say, is like a Lego builder. You keep on playing with Lego. It's just a different kind of Lego, but is beautiful that is a puzzle to solve. You try to figure it out in which way to solve it with new tools. And now we start to have, it's like having a 3D printer for Lego pieces, right? Back in our days, there were only specific piece of Lego. Now we add a 3D printer for Lego pieces, and you can create things that it was impossible before. So let's see, but I'm very excited.
So it's just, I'm just reminded, Dr. Varma, the last census India had about 1,700 dialects, 1,700, and we have about 22 official languages.
Yeah. So imagine that you were thinking of building a software back in the days with 1,700 localization, whatever. That was the approach, right? The approach was, I need to have that form that nobody knows how to fill, but independently from that is localized in 1,700 language. And now I have an approach into which I don't need to do that anymore. There is an alternative path. So I think is an interesting moment in time in which we can start to solve problems that were not solvable in a very radical different way.
Mr. Patnaik?
Yeah, I fully agree what Dr. Varma said, and that means my talented co-panelists, they agree that yes, the need of technology is uppermost, and depending on the diversity of the country and its people, okay, we can have saturation, we can have customization. Yes, everybody desires that there should be insurance to everybody, so that that dream of insurance for all can be achieved. And I'm very happy that many of the companies also, that means they have adopted this sort of things. They are taking this risk through unstructured data also, and use of telematics and others. I think that is onboarding is almost in a jiffy. Sometimes some company they say within perhaps 3 minutes will be onboarding. Some say sort of thing like that. So many companies have reached that level. Claim settlement also just send some photographs and AI calculates. And then there is use of telematics in the car, and also they decide on the premiums that is charged. Pay as you drive. Almost all companies have introduced it. I also took pay as you drive sort of thing. I got a discount of some 3,000-4,000 rupees in my insurance premium. So everything is happening. Everything is happening in the health also. There are a lot of innovations going on. Like I was surprised. Like we are happy to note that the government of India launched this Ayushman Bharat. So up to 5 lakhs people are covered. But there are enlightened individuals there. They take a top up after that also. When PM Vaya Vandana, people who are above 70 years, irrespective of the income, everybody can be covered for 5 lakhs. But if you take a top up of 20-25 lakhs, then the premium gets drastically reduced.
Sure.
So there is a lot of customization that is happening. So, and yes, as we rightly say, everybody has to have a buy-in for the concept of insurance. A little bit of knowledge. Suppose when we go to the marketplace to buy something as a blazer or a shoes or something, we need to have some knowledge. We do a lot of research. Even for the food items we want to take, we do a lot of research. So luckily what is happening in India, so people are doing a lot of research. What is the insurance that we are going to buy? I'm very happy to guide and whatever it is. So we are also doing a lot of awareness campaigns. Like IIDA has a massive awareness campaign built up, and you see today with the initiative of IIDA, that means the GI Council, massive TV campaigns you say, which says insurance acha hai, what is health insurance, how people have benefited. Then the Life Council, so there is massive again, sabse pehle insurance, that how life insurance is benefiting and all. So slowly it will be engulfing all the aspects, property, motor, everything it will be. Plus IITA will always be also having its campaign for insurance on its own. So then we as an academy also, we are into also insurance awareness. So many other institutions, they are also into insurance awareness. Philanthropic institutions, foundations and other things. So that is, we know, because the difference between a developed country and to be a developed country, but there is a journey, to be transmitted. And what happened is this period, that is what everybody, like we are discussing here, civil society, a lot of discussions are happening. At the level of the government, a lot of discussions is happening. I have been part of many such discussions. So at the regulator level, it is constantly, that means what more innovations you do. We, like every month on the 15th, there is an open house where any insurance technology company they desire, they can go and showcase their talent. We have been witness to so many things. There are around more than 70 Insurtech companies in India, and they're doing all wonderful jobs. And get my
So hopefully that will show up in some of the legacy systems that
it is showing
some
up.
companies.
It is already shown up. And yes, everybody knows that the transformation has to be a bit of totally digital. And every company, they know it's not a question of legacy and then transferring to tech. Legacy was legacy, and I get my point. But everybody has transformed into tech sort of. In an insurance company, you require a lot of human capital, a lot of feet on street, and when it is backed by technology, then the flavor becomes really acceptable. So that is happening in the insurance sector. We have a lot of data points to discuss. Okay, like penetration level is one data point. But the GDP is growing. Nobody analyzes that the GDP is growing at the fastest in the world. And the insurance penetration is keeping its pace.
Yeah.
So that is something great for the insurance sector.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There was every chance that the insurance penetration could have brought further because the GDP is growing so fast. And GDP is huge. Insurance sector is small. So GDP is around 300 lakh crores. So insurance sector is 12 lakh crores. So there is every chance the GDP grows faster, even by 5%, it adds some 15 lakh crores to it, and a sort of thing like that. So we understand that the country is growing, the banking sector is growing. The banking sector has grown 40 times during the last 25 years. So insurance sector overall, I told you this non-life sector has grown by 30 times. The life sector has grown by around 20 times. So everybody is growing. So it is happening. If you see the sheer numbers that are insured today, suppose in the PM Ayushman Bharat, 10 crore families, 50 crore people.
That's 500 million.
500 million.
Yeah, I know.
Plus another 500 million from the health insurance sector. So if you say take one segment, by some calculation here and there, it is insurance for all has really been achieved. Am I correct? Today, if you see, that is people who are affected by some sort of health impairments, the out-of-pocket expenses has reduced up to 40%, where it was 90% earlier. Maybe another 2-3 years down, it may drop down to 20%. Today, if you go to any hospital, suppose there are dedicated health insurance desks by everybody. Yeah. Out of 100 insurance health impairment that come to the hospital, maybe 60-70 are met through the health insurance board.
So that's the,
That's
so,
great.
I have a
So
term for that.
satirization has already happened in some way or the other.
So I have a term for that, Dr. Varma. Small is the real big in India.
Yeah.
Micro is the new mega.
Yeah,
Micro is
yeah,
the new mega.
that's enough. Very well put. Okay, so Chet, big companies move slow. They take their time.
Yeah.
But if you can mention of a cultural shift which you have noticed, which helps them innovate, be smart, and help their customers be smart.
Yeah, I think the one which comes to mind is just sort of giving teams the autonomy with clear outcomes, right? So when an engineer understands the why, they innovate faster and better. So with speed, you still have to keep the resiliency in mind. You have to balance the risk. So for me, I think just giving teams the autonomy with clear outcomes is one of the key sort of the cultural shift I have seen with companies who are really, really successful.
Jacob, for the technology platforms for driving compliance, customer experience. Customer experience is very big in today's world. What would you say is the technology platform's role so that that ultimate customer expectation, and we're talking of the diversity that we spoke about, how can that be met?
Well, question is multiple. You can answer that question in multiple way. You can answer that question from a technology perspective and say, what kind of choice you make for. But going a little bit back to the initial question you asked, Chet, about how do you innovate speed and how do you enable speed. Ultimately, it is always about when you do something, you know that you will need to redo it. It is part of what we've been doing. I've been managing developer for a long time. Sometimes they start a project, development project, and then you arrive and you kill the project. And when you kill the project, some of them take it like, okay. And some of them take it like, you've been killing my baby. Why are you doing that, right? And I've always been saying, you are in the business of rebuilding things. If you're a software engineer, you're in the business of rebuilding things. Accept the fact that you're rebuilding. And so if you accept the fact that you're rebuilding, you build in the first place in a way that is rebuildable, right? So if you take a technology tomorrow, specific technology, but you implement that technology in a way that you could move away from it, now you are now you are into agility. If you are into agility, you can handle the sort of the UX problem in different way, right? If you look at the UX problem 15 years ago, UX problem from a technology perspective, you would have talked about whatever, macromedia potentially, flash technology. If you look at the UX problem today, you still look in terms of forms. If you're probably looking at a UX problem tomorrow, there will probably not be form. Probably you will interact in a completely different way. Maybe the screen will form in front of you and so on. So the key aspect is to put yourself in a position into which no decision kind of bind you to something that is unchangeable. You need to be able to change everything. I will not say in a matter of seconds, but design things in a way that you could evolve as everything evolves. If you can do that, you are in a good place. For example, if you look at Guidewire, 8 years ago, we decided to partner with AWS. But if you have that principle, then you can tackle whatever, agility, UX, customer experience, all those things. As they evolve, you will have an answer that is kind of, I would say, possible.
Collaboration in something like driving the innovation culture, what would you say? And given the last 10 years, particularly 10, maybe 15 years, the way India's been.
Yeah, there are two parts of the community maybe you want to talk about. One, society itself, whether when you're launching, insurance is well regulated and reasonably well understood now. But generally, I think there's a societal conversation part of the community. For example, vulnerable people, whether it's homeless or transgenders or any of those minority side of it, a lot of the conversation we might have to tweak new product lines that's match their needs. So those conversations, every product company and collectively, one company is burdensome to do. It's unfair to ask one company to do it, but maybe through regulator and some sort of consortium, you can have those societal conversation to say what part is completely missing. Why is this part of the sector dark, not covered at all? How do we come up with new? Those are good set of conversation. And the second, it's directly to Diego's point. If a company like Guidewire to come here and say, this engineer sitting here, however number of engineers smart they are, it's extremely unfair to ask them to come up with user interface or workflows that match everyone.
Yep.
There is nothing that match everyone. So now how many UI will you create? How many apps will you create? So the one way to solve this is to go through tech partnerships. That is another set of community, innovator community. Like he said, there are a lot of Insurtech, or there are successful companies like PhonePes of the world, Zerodas of the world, who are anyway doing embedded product combined products, and they've already reached. Can we leverage that customer reach through those companies and let them innovate? That means the Guidewires of the world would be more API driven, application programming interface driven, allow others to build
100%.
workflows and innovation instead of you having to build everything by yourself. That allows a combination of you building it, but you also allow others to build it, and that allows a lot of diverse products to come out. Embedded product. India needs embedded products.
Correct.
It's very hard to get insurance. Somebody wakes up and let me buy insurance today, but I buy stuff today. I just embed them, embed a downside into the product.
Into the flow,
Yeah.
into the origin.
Maybe our lifestyle milestone also should embed. You're getting married, we need insurance. It's embedded, right? I think Indians will buy embedded products much faster. The problem with embedded is sold by someone else.
Yeah.
That means whoever is selling that product should have the ability to embed an insurance product dynamically into the flow. That means someone else is building the user interface and the workflow, an HR workflow or a commerce workflow or healthcare workflows, anything else that you're doing, and the insurance just shows up everywhere else. That would be a beautiful way to say I can penetrate to a large diverse population and large use cases without us having to do everything, whether Guidewire having to do everything.
So we've spoken a little bit about what is generally the known. The regulatory stance could be the unknown as the market evolves. So, Mr. Patnaik, the question to you then, if you can wear your regulator hat and explain this. Consumer protection, pricing transparency, data residency, all of this will be issues in an evolving market. What does this mean for insurance?
So you will agree that everybody agrees to consumer protection. Everybody is a consumer. And one of the principal function of a regulator is to protect the consumer. Whether the banking regulator, whether insurance regulator, so many regulators are there. Because it is just an extension of the government, and for government everybody is a citizen. And government job is to protect everybody, whether from external attack, from internal attack. So, suppose somebody is a consumer, he may be affected by an internal attack. So, there is a regulator who should see the regulations are in place so the consumers are protected. And I think all good companies, they agree also. It is in their principles also. Any good company which does business, they desire that we will be taking good care of the customers and then earn whatever is possible. A good company never tries to fleece it because they are governed by their boards and other things, so they're well regulated. So it's a well settled thing that every citizen has to be protected, every consumer citizen has to be protected. When a citizen buys something, becomes a consumer, and they're protected. We buy so many things, food items, everything, and so there has to be somebody to protect us. An individual cannot protect itself. Then pricing transparency, because because what happens is insurance is a complex product many times. An ordinary customer, because they are busy in their own lives, they work for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, so they have to manage their own jobs. So they buy something that they have to understand that yes, it has got a regulatory approval, a regulatory sanction. So sometimes the regulator allows the companies, okay, you can price it and also send it for approval. Sometimes before pricing, you do send us for our approval, where the actuaries sit together, they find out. After when they sell it also, then it still comes. Then the actuaries sit also, they find out. Then every quarterly, every yearly, there are a lot of transparency checks. Sometimes it's found out that it is not in order. So there are corrections that happens. So by and large today, that means an insurance consumer, he or she will not say that, okay, there is nobody to help us. I can say with certainty that if there are 100 customers, so more than 95, it is business as usual. But 5, there will be different challenges. But the regulator has his own ecosystem. The regulator controls over the insurance ombudsman ecosystem. The regulator controls the internal grievance redressal mechanism of the companies, supervises. There are regular, that means data points that is received. So what happens is, by and large, you'll find that if somebody is an insurance customer, that he is reasonably satisfied. There'll be some complaints here and there because, like health, it is always very complex. So certain things may not be provided for in the policy. So those will be challenges. Sometimes the expenses will be a certain amount and the payment will be a certain amount, but there will be challenges. So it is always question of perception. But there what happens, because there was insurance, some money has been available already. The bulk of the money is available. For the maybe for a small amount there might be a dispute, but which also, that is, nobody says that the company may be always right, but with some cases company may be right, some cases individual may be right. But those numbers are very less. So in an overall scenario, but person who is affected, for him it is 100%. So he or she has the right to complain, and it has to be, and that is the part of the good thing about democracy. In democracy, somebody is there to listen. And there are enough people in the country to listen to certain problems. So most of the things get resolved. Something doesn't get resolved, so that much of animosity will remain. But when you see overall, the number of people who have been helped by the claims that has been settled, and minus that, what would have been the economic fallout, what would have been the depression in the growth in the GDP. So those are also, there are ways to calculate it also. So at this point of time, you see, that is what you can call the people who would have really suffered because of lack of settlement of claims by way of life insurance, health insurance, settlement of motor insurance, that has got greatly lessened. So today, whenever somebody drives the vehicle, he or she knows that, yes, I am adequately covered, and I get my point, my vehicle is adequately covered. So that is the ecosystem. That credit goes to the regulator and of course to the government of India, because they have created an ecosystem in a very, very democratic manner, in a very, very regulated manner, where there are enough rooms for everybody to comment upon, and corrections happen from time to time. And that makes India a very good platform for the insurance ecosystem to grow.
Okay, the policymaker and regulator there pretty much on the ball. Dr. Varma, for digital platforms, how can they scale with the, I would also include not just protection, but also privacy at the heart of it, so that they can grow with everyone's comfort?
I think technology as a lever, playing out that is key. I would be very surprised if any one of us on this panel actually reads through the full insurance document or a consent form today that shows up. So it's very important to understand, and this is English speaking. Most of how many of them are in local languages? How many insurance documents are in local languages? How many are actually able to? That's where I think there's significant opportunity for product companies to leverage multilingual voice explanations, LLMs to digest what this thick document even means. Can I upload this document and instantly ask what's covered, what's not covered? Can you just briefly explain to me? Can you summarize this to me? These tools and technology is coming very much at the right time for us to be able to make it explainable.
Yes.
explainability is the hardest thing.
Yes.
First of all, nobody understands down. Nobody wakes up every day saying, I'm going to die today, right? In the sense, as a species, we can't survive if you're that paranoid. So normally we are all positive. You're not going to die, everything will be okay. And hence, insurance is always a hard part to convince somebody to do.
Yeah.
It's like nobody writes will.
Also, because if you're going to die today, you're not going to awake.
You're not awake.
In the first place.
So it is important. Nobody prepares for such downstream that much. So that's one challenge. Second challenge, explainability as a challenge. And the third is the claims processing. Traditionally has been quite a painful process for most people to be able to fill up a form, submit all the evidence. The paperwork and the runaround is actually high. And that creates friction. So if you really look at what tech can do, tech can deal with the second and the third. First is harder in terms of understanding whether you even need. That's where embedded insurance, make it attractive, 89 rupees. Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Anyway, I'm traveling. Sounds pretty easy to take. So people take it on demand rather than a permanent running insurance. So that part you can cover. The second, explainability, tech can absolutely solve with our Bhashini and language LLMs that we are all open sourcing and available to companies like Guidewire. It's quite, or Insurtech companies, their ability to make it easier for people to understand what they're buying and what they're not buying, they're not getting. So that later a dispute doesn't show up saying, I thought it was covered, it's not covered, it was not covered, it's written there, you never read it, right? So it is making it easier. We can use tech, we can even bring voice to it. So for example, you can read this out and say clearly. It's quite easy today using tech. So I think that part is good. And the last is claims processing. If you do the claims processing with photographic evidence or much simpler evidence, as Diego was saying, conversational form filling, not a traditional. I can just speak. You can ask me, okay, but what happened? Okay, what happened? Like a human asking, and I already filled the form because I answered most of them in my own language. That would be a very powerful way to bring tech to make it easier for the masses to understand what they're getting 100%. And make it easy for them to process so that it is in the DNA. Everything, and if this, the risks are not covered, we have huge issues. There's two reasons Indians go into debt, families go into debt, is wedding and accident, health. And the third is agriculture, right? Half of India is 40% is agrarian, and with climate changes and everything else, it's so unpredictable. Look at the Himachal Pradesh apple story brewing. It's just what do you call in the Kashmir apple story brewing right now. It's very hard on half the country who is agrarian. So I think building in down risk is an inevitability for us to be able to do that. I think tech is brilliant for us to be able to make it easy to understand why they should buy, what they're getting, and easy to process. If I have a problem, one-click claim. I make it so easy that it worked for me, and then it should work for my family and work for the society.
I love the word when you use you said DNA in the product. So, Diego, is that can security and the wider, since it's treated as compliance because regulators want it, the product needs it, company needs it, the enterprise needs it, can that be something that can help enhance trust in the potential consumers or your customers?
100%. But the trust is also, the trust is not only the security, the trust is also the full process, right? If I know that if I file a claim, it's going to be not too painful and I'm going to be paid. That's part of the trust. I bought something and I understood what I bought. That's part of the trust. Then of course there is that level of whatever my information are stored securely and so on. But the vast majority of the people, if they, as Dr. Sharma said, if they accept all the condition, they are also at that point of entry, they are not really concerned about the security. Later on they are, don't get me wrong. And the regulator, rightfully so, as we said a second ago, government needs to make sure that they take care of those aspects. But from a consumer perspective, the consumer wants to be in a situation in which if I end up in an accident, I'm going to be paid quickly. And the entire experience is an experience that is going to sort. And if you're paid quickly, you trust even more. Now that generates an extra level of culture that the next time you bite it again, because you're going to, that experience is going to be, oh, when that happened previously, likely I did that move, and because I did that move, and so on. And technology can smooth that out, because even if you understand insurance, with the lack of technology, and maybe the lack of UPI, the payment system that you just introduced, or in India it was introduced, imagine receiving that payment very slowly, and very later. It takes time. It takes time to sort of file the claim. It takes time to sort of, how to say, prove all the detail of the claim. By the time that eventually you get paid, you're exhausted, and it's way too long. And if you're in agriculture, even worse, right? Because you need to be able to be to be reimbursed on time, to buy crops and to do the right things at the right time, right? So I think that technology is in a position right now that we can tackle things that it was unimaginable before. What he described a second ago is already working in our lab. Your insurance goes up. In the past, you needed to talk to somebody that was an expert on the other side and explain you, yes, it went up because of this and this and this and that. Now there is the LLM. We have scenario into which you can simply interact with an LLM and say, why it went up? And this thing in a millisecond is going to tell you it went up because of this reason, this reason, this reason. And then you can ask a contextual question, and that thing is going to give you the answer specifically for you. So again, is very exciting. We are in a position into which we can revolutionize insurance in a way that everybody can take it. It could become a product that is way more ubiquitous, right? Technology a few years ago made the mobile phone, especially in India, available to everybody, right? When I was living in India 15, 16 years ago, not everybody had the phone, and for sure not everybody had the smartphone. It was not even existing. Now, I don't think that is a question. I think we're entering in a phase into which in 15, 20 years, I think the same could be said about insurance. Everybody will have some level of insurance for some part of the journey, maybe not for the full journey, but for some part of the journey, everybody will consume some aspect of insurance. As we were saying, what we call affinity insurance, that is this embedded insurance, or you insure your car all the time, or a flavor of that. Again, technology is always exciting, how it can enable some change in this, and the level of technology right now, I think it can revolutionize the way that insurance is offered and is purchased.
If I may come in,
Sure.
I think the processing, we should not underestimate the friction people face in subsequently, and almost always, because insurance product is to take care of the downside, your claims, you're claiming because some negative incident happened.
100%.
Let's say your partner passed away, and at that time, if you're getting harassed to get his or her
Yes.
life, it's a worst experience or
Yes.
trust experience. Diego's point on trust erodes
Yes.
instantly.
Instantly.
When first of all you're down, your agriculture blew up, or your partner died, or negative situation, and at that time the company is saying, fill up this form, run around, get me, how do you know you're even married? 15,000 questions, and it just gets very, very hard for people.
Yes.
I think we have to be very nuanced about claims process.
One final question to you, Chet. In this time when we are talking digital, building that digital trust becomes critical. How would you, if you were to address CIOs, how would you drive that point home for them?
Yeah, I think it sort of ties back to the trust conversation we had, right? I mean, one is you have to make sure there is resiliency built in. So if I want to go file a claim, the system is up and the experience is simple and delightful one, and I can quickly get what I need. And that sort of builds the trust. So I think those are the core fundamentals, which are really, really crucial in the digital space. And then going back to the ecosystem of UPI, the other. So if I am doing the end-to-end cycle and I'm looking to get payment process, I should be able to get that payment very quickly from the UPI perspective. So I think that's the key as part of sort of building that digital, sort of the scale and the trust and the experience together.
Okay, now it's time for a rapid fire, gentlemen. Let's start with Dr. Varma, you. Which cricket format best represents India's insurance sector today? Test, which is slow, ODI, well, not as slow as Test match, or T20s, which is really fast paced.
From a growth perspective, T20.
Okay, Chet, if insurers could automate just one task for tomorrow, what would you call it?
I think we talked about this earlier. It's automating the claims triage process.
Okay. And Diageo, if insurance was served like food in India, would you prefer it to be a thali, as they say, everything included? A biryani, which is a mixture of, well, sometimes non-veg, sometimes vegetarian, or street food?
Street food, always street food.
Okay, that's a good one. That's all. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking out the time to be with us to talk about the sector and some fun as well.